Welcome to the 100th anniversary of the Shoe Service Institute of America. Presented by Vibram.
And now, the splendid ensemble of the full orchestra. Columbia Double Disc Records.
The Industrial Revolution had forever altered the course of American history. By the beginning of the 20th century, new inventions and technological advancements were dramatically transforming labor and industrial operations. The shoe repair industry was no exception. The advent of the rubber heel and sole and the introduction of the stitcher and finisher were developments that presented unprecedented opportunities as well as unforeseen obstacles. Wholesalers particularly were facing challenging situations. Increased competition, burdensome credit conditions, expanded inventory requirements, and a lack of communication and cooperation put the wholesalers in an unfavorable position. Undaunted, a group of motivated and progressive wholesalers conceived a solution. In 1904, led by Thomas W. Fuqua of the James Clark Leather Company, they organized into a trade association called the National Leather and Shoe Finders Association. Their first organizational meeting was held in Chicago, Illinois, on November 7, 1905. Among the 34 wholesalers attending this landmark event was Henry Klein, who was elected president by a unanimous vote and held that position for the next 10 years. Initially, the goal of the NLSFA was exclusively focused on improving the conditions and profitability of the wholesalers within the industry. However, as we will see, the vision of the NLSFA, as well as the industry at large, would continue to evolve with the changing times throughout the next 100 years.
"3,000 miles from home, an American army is fighting for you. Everything you hold worthwhile is at stake. Only the hardest blows can win against the enemy we are fighting."
For the NLSFA, the decade following 1910 was a time of tremendous growth. Committed to building their membership on a national scale, association officers traveled extensively promoting the values and benefits of a strong, viable shoe repair industry and association. Consequently, membership privileges were no longer restricted only to wholesalers. The association began to see the importance and advantages of increased cooperation between the producing and distributing units of the trade, and therefore invited manufacturers to join also. Their decision paid off, and by 1914 membership had grown to 239 regular and associate members. More and better shoe repairing became the motto of the industry, and the NLSFA dedicated itself to improving all aspects of the business. A credit reporting service and collections bureau was established. Donations totaling more than $17,000 were the foundation for their first educational fund that later produced and distributed a booklet entitled "More Money to the Shoe Repairers." In 1918, the NLSFA formed its Trade Promotion Bureau, and discussions were underway for a new forum in which to exchange ideas, a monthly trade publication, one that would be a source of information and inspiration to the shoe repair industry.
You are now listening to a talking moving picture whose synchronism is not only perfect, but foolproof. It is the invention of Dr. Lee DeForest.
Henry Ford helped usher in the modern industrial America of the 1920s by turning out a new car every 10 seconds. While many people benefited from the advent of the automobile, it posed a new challenge to the shoe repairman's business as people began driving more and walking less. The industry also faced additional competition with the emergence of price cutters into the marketplace. These less experienced craftsmen worked with inferior, cheaper materials, enabling them to undercut the competitors' prices while passing off their work as one of quality and craftsmanship. The public was not fooled, and unfortunately, this had a detrimental effect on the public's image of shoe repair. In response, there was an increase in do-it-yourself repairs and new shoe purchases. The NLSFA recognized these issues facing the shoe repair industry and took decisive steps to assist all those involved in the trade. In March of 1921, they published the very first edition of Shoe Repair Service. A prime focus of the magazine was to help the repairmen become better businessmen. It recommended ways to combat the price cutters through advertising, formation of local shoe repair associations, and public awareness of the value of quality shoe repair. The benefits of store cleanliness and friendly service were championed. Merchandising ideas such as selling findings, which had successfully transformed the drugstores and hardware stores, were suggested. Additionally, a booklet entitled "The Public Must Know" was distributed to the repairmen along with lectures and advertising aids. In 1923, members of the NLSFA approved the issuing of an annual credit reference book, and June of 1928 marked the first Shoe Repairers and Dealers Exposition held in Boston, Massachusetts.
More men are now out of work than ever. The debt of the United States has gone up $10 billion more. There is starvation, there is homelessness, there is misery on every hand and corner, but mind you, in the meantime, Mr. Roosevelt has had his way.
President Roosevelt sought to assist the nation's recovery during the Great Depression by enacting the Industrial Recovery Act. This initiative encouraged trade groups to organize into unified national trade organizations governed by codes of fair competition that could be enacted into law. Inspired by this possibility, the NLSFA quickly consolidated the existing shoe repair associations, and the newly formed National Federation of Master Shoe Rebuilders presented their Code of Fair Competition to the U.S. government in January of 1934. Parameters for minimum wages and prices, as well as maximum employee and store hours, were included. The code was approved, with all provisions becoming law, with the exception of minimum pricing. However, these advancements were short-lived, as Roosevelt suspended the code just 2 months later, and the Federation dissolved shortly thereafter. Disappointed, but ever determined, the NLSFA decided to take matters into their own hands. To gain a better perspective of the reasons for the public's decreased expenditures on shoe repair, they implemented a $25,000 consumer research project. The Peoria Test surveyed 5,000 representative American households in Peoria, Illinois, and the results proved to be a wake-up call to the industry. Consumer responses clearly disputed the industry's conceptions, and in fact showed that industry decline was due to poor workmanship, inadequate merchandising and sales efforts, unorganized financial and business practices, and unattractive store and product presentation. In response, the NLSFA developed the Peoria Plan, which later was rolled out nationally as the Guild Plan in July of 1938. Among the many benefits and services offered to participants of the Guild program were discounts on materials, advertising and marketing displays with the Guild logo, a bookkeeping system, and instruction booklets such as invisible half-soling techniques to upgrade their services. Another highlight of 1938 was the introduction of the first Silver Cup contest sponsored by Shoe Repair Service. The contest drew approximately 100 entries and focused on workmanship, shop management and attractiveness, and merchandising. More than 65 years later, the Silver Cup continues to be a prestigious honor that recognizes excellence in shoe repair craftsmanship and retailing.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war.
In the early part of the 1940s, a weeding out process occurred within the industry, and many unsuccessful shop owners turned to steady factory jobs. These departures served to strengthen the economic position and viability of the remaining progressive shops. Other improvements included a name change for the industry publication from Shoe Repair Service to Shoe Service, reflecting their efforts to expand the scope and improve the image of the business. Shoe Service also started National Shoe Checkup Days, whereby families were encouraged to get their shoes checked during a 5-day period. Checkup kits were sold to the shoe repair shops for 65 cents each. The program was backed by substantial newspaper and direct mail advertising to 20 million families and proved to be a hit with the public. Also during this time, the NLSFA developed the first industry-sponsored national advertising campaign called the Shoe Service System. Although the industry was evolving, nothing could have prepared them for the changes resulting from the events of December 7, 1941. With the arrival of World War II, many of the problems plaguing the industry ended, only to be replaced with conditions of the opposite extreme. Cut prices, surplus labor, and a declining interest in shoe repair were a thing of the past. Now price ceilings were imposed, labor was scarce, and the shoe repairers had an overabundance of work. The shoe repair industry reached its pinnacle in 1946, with shops in the U.S. totaling approximately 75,000 and a volume of $300 million. The increased business was also due in part to Uncle Sam's strong promotion of shoe repair and shoe conservation. The War Manpower Commission made an official declaration that the shoe repairer was essential to the war effort. When shoe rationing became a national war regulation, shoe repairers were asked to take on even more responsibility. They did so, and with their hard work and dedication, made a significant and valuable contribution to one of America's greatest victories. IA recognized that shoe repair purchases had declined as the public returned to their pre-war buying habits and took action accordingly. In 1957, SSIA launched a $74,000 program focusing on identification and promotion kits that participating retail shops could purchase for $2. These kits tied in with manufacturers' national advertising and included a wide variety of point-of-purchase materials, all sharing a common logo and theme that shoe repairing keeps shoes looking new. Diversification was promoted as a key strategy in the post-war era. Shoe repair shops were encouraged to provide additional products and services to increase sales, profits, and traffic. Improvements in equipment, such as Otto Solar's introduction of the heel bar, helped the repairers deliver the superior service and craftsmanship that the public had now come to expect from the shoe service industry.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
President Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally were shot from ambush today in a motorcade.
Many of the industry issues that were prevalent throughout the 50s continued on for the duration of the 1960s. Qualified labor became increasingly scarce. It was becoming more difficult to attract young people to the trade because of low wages. Efforts to establish better training programs, both within the industry and in conjunction with the government, proved to be ineffective. Cheap shoes once again became a hot topic as manufacturing with paper and plastic became more prevalent. To counteract this growing trend, leaders within the industry took a proactive approach and initiated legislation requiring adequate labeling laws. A large number of these cheap shoes were imports, a fact that concerned tanners, wholesalers, and repairmen alike. By 1969, imports had risen to 225 million pairs of shoes, representing approximately 40% of the domestic production. That same year, representatives from the shoe and leather industries, along with leading senators and congressmen, met with President Nixon to discuss the shoe import situation. While President Nixon proposed voluntary quotas from importing countries as a solution, the industry also took a more aggressive stance and lobbied behind the Hollings Cotton Bill, which proposed legislation setting import quotas for the textile and footwear industry. All the while supporting these domestic efforts in the 1960s, the SSIA also gained valuable insight from their involvement with the International Shoe Repairers Congress. This international exchange of ideas helped the SSIA establish a bold new plan for the 1970s.
I have never been a quitter. To leave office before my term is completed is abhorrent to every instinct in my body. But as president, I must put the interests of America first.
The Shoe Service Industry Council took the industry by storm in the 1970s. The SSIA kicked off this powerhouse PR effort by appointing sports celebrity Joe Garagiola as their national spokesperson. Heralding the benefits of quality shoe repair to a national network audience, Garagiola spread the message to millions of TV viewers. This high-profile campaign was further enhanced by Ann Travelstead, the industry's first traveling spokesperson, as she made regular appearances and contributions to TV and radio talk shows as well as newspapers. Award-winning promotional materials followed, along with the development of a co-op advertising program and radio and TV commercials for repairers to use. The success of the Industry Council and their national public relations program was due to industry-wide funding and cooperation. By the power of their collective efforts, manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers were getting their valuable message of more and better shoe repairing out into the world.
The aircraft carrying the 52 American hostages had cleared Iranian airspace on the first leg of a journey home, and that every one of the 52 hostages was alive, was well, and free.
A wave of entrepreneurship swept the country in the 1980s and took the shoe service industry along for the ride. Not since World War II had the industry seen such beneficial economic conditions in which to prosper. Franchises and retail malls were booming, and developers were beginning to see the value of offering shoe repair in their distribution outlets. This had not always been the case. However, the introduction of new European equipment into the U.S. market allowed for better utilization of retail space and equipment usage. The European concept was a modern approach to the traditional formula for success, combining while-you-wait service with diversified merchandising and a high-traffic location. The result was that shoe repair became one of the most sought-after retail opportunities of the me decade.
Let's just sum up. President Bush at 9 o'clock this evening, which is less than 90 minutes from now, is going to address the nation. It has been officially announced at the White House. The announcement came about 30 minutes ago that the air war in the Persian Gulf has commenced with U.S. attacks against Iraq and against Iraqi targets in Kuwait.
As Americans became more environmentally conscious in the 1990s, recycling became increasingly popular. To capitalize on this trend, the SSIA promoted shoe repair as an overlooked form of recycling. During the National Shoe Repair Awareness Week in 1995, SSIA increased consumer awareness that with regular shoe repair and maintenance, more than 62 million pairs of shoes were kept out of landfills each year. The industry also made an impact on the social issue of the homeless with their Shoes for the Shoeless program. In 1997 alone, this program generated nearly 80,000 pairs of shoes for disaster victims, the homeless, and others in need. In recognition of their efforts, the SSIA was twice awarded the American Society of Association Executives Advance America Award of Excellence. SSIA also received trophies in ASAE's Gold Circle Award competitions for excellence in public relations, which encompassed additional publications such as Shoe Smarts and the Footwear Value Report. The new millennium signaled a time of transition and restructuring for the SSIA. For several years, the managing organization of the SSIA had been Clemens & Associates. Now, in an effort to control expenditures and increase group participation, SSIA decided to become an all-volunteer association. Another significant reform was made to the Board of Directors membership to include 3 members from each of the 3 sectors within the shoe service industry, effectively giving a voice to suppliers, wholesalers, and repairers alike. The SSIA also capitalized on the potential and power of the information age by securing their Internet presence at www.ssia.info. Ask the Expert, shop-to-shop talk, online message boards and chat rooms give both consumers and shoe professionals the opportunity to connect and learn from one another. In 2004, a new marketing campaign was announced with the objective being to create consumer awareness. A unique eye-catching logo was designed with the corresponding byline, "If the shoe fits, repair it." This new look is featured on the SSIA-sponsored bags that are available to repairers with the goal of reaching 1 million consumers in 2004. And beyond 2004, well, that story has yet to be written. But here's someone that can give us an introduction to what will be the next exciting chapter of the Shoe Service Institute of America.
Wow, we just had 100 years flash before our eyes. My name is Robert D. Ronaldo. I've been around 3/4 of a century. I think I learned a little bit about shoe repairing in that time. In those past 100 years, we had our good years, our bad years, and our waiting out period. But Shoe Service Institute is still here and doing well. What's in store for the next 100 years? Well, I look around, I see a lot of enthusiasm at the conventions. Plus, I see the new machinery that we're getting, the new materials, the new ways of fixing shoes, the internet, which helps communicate to tell all about these products and all these new different things that we have in our industry. So I can see a great future coming. With all the enthusiasm, there is going to always be a need for shoe repairing, shoe crafting in the next 100 years. I'd like to thank all of us for this great celebration, this 100-year anniversary. Let's keep it going. Thank you.
This has been a CK1 production.